Good morning. Welcome to the Work Cultured Podcast. We are here this morning with Hoyin Cheung, and Hoyin is the founder and CEO of Remo as well as Hermesie, two different companies that he has founded. And I wanted to share one thing that I thought that just really connected with me of this, especially with Remo, this idea that even though we are a world that uses social media, that it's actually social media has become antisocial was something that you said, and that really caught me. So I'd love if you would, Hoyin, share a little bit more about your story and kind of how you got to where you are today.
First off, thank you, Daniel, for having me on this podcast. I am
Yeah, thanks
super
for being.
excited.
Yeah,
Love your podcast, love what you guys are doing. So super excited to be on here. I started Remo before the pandemic, like around 2018, and I've been doing managing remote teams, working with distributed teams for now it's almost 15, 16 years. So
wow,
I
I didn't realize it
created
was that long.
Remo. Yeah, and I created Remo because I felt that it was hard to be connected with people, which we all know now. Like, the president just told all federal employees to go back to the office. So we all
Yep.
kind of, we all know that working distributed and remote is difficult to collaborate and work together. And so I wanted to create something to kind of try to simulate that. And it started off as a virtual office, which eventually pivoted into virtual events, which is what currently Remo is the main sort of product now. And then we got really lucky, I have to say. I wish I said I knew that there was going to be COVID, but I totally did not know. And we grew really, really fast. Like we grew from 6 people to 160 people within 10 months
Wow.
during
10
2020.
months.
Yeah, 10 months. Yeah.
Wow. That is
We were
some
hiring
growth
like
for sure.
crazy.
Yeah.
And so, I always say that we were blitzscaling, but without the VC funding. Like it was all just
Wow.
self-funded. And we were just very lucky. We were in the right place at the right time, and our product was like just at the right place. It wasn't too. It was just mature at the right moment.
Sure.
And so I learned a lot of lessons when it comes to scaling culture for distributed teams, and also when a company's growing at a really really fast pace. And so I had a lot of learnings there. And then I took a lot of those learnings and then brought that to Hermesie. And Hermesie is like a virtual remote executive assistant service. So it's actual human people that we recruit and we train, and then we match them with C-level execs. And we also have EA executive assistants and also chief of staff. And this was a pure reflection of my journey of from Remo, where I needed more help. I couldn't scale myself fast enough and I needed more help. And I found that the current level of executive assistants and chief of staff just weren't really at the level that I needed. And so I kind of, tried to set the bar a little bit higher and also really focus on them using AI and technology. So imagine them as like tech savvy
Mm.
uh, individuals that are also just so happen to be your executive assistant, but they're very tech savvy. So they know
Love it.
AI, they know all this stuff. Like, I mean, new AI models are just coming out left and right. We just had DeepSeek, we just had Deep Research just launched by OpenAI.
Yeah.
Like this, I don't know when this podcast is coming up, but we just have so much stuff going on. And so I'm really focused on really upskilling them and adapt, try to be ahead of the curve when it comes to changes in technology in today's fast paced technological landscape.
Now, is your goal, are y'all hiring for that, or y'all training for that, or a little bit of both?
Yeah, so we hire, so we go around all around the world looking for the best talent, and we
Okay.
have a set of of um, requirements or a few personality traits that we really really hone in on that we've identified that really really excel really well as a remote distributed person that's
Okay.
critical, and also for the role that we train for, and then we spend about 1 full month training them, and it's a really extensive training. Like only 40% is actually they watch a video or read something passively. The other 60% is all active learning.
Okay.
So they're actually
Love that.
doing exercises, doing tasks. It's all about applying and learning through doing it rather than sitting there and just like looking at some videos and just
Yeah.
passively absorbing information.
Yeah. No, I love that. Well, and that, I mean, that goes to your point of making it social and engaging people. So I'm not at all surprised that that's how y'all do it. I love that.
Thanks.
Well, so as we mentioned, kind of as I was preparing for you for this, now it's our favorite question to ask everyone. Ho Yin, what is a mistake in leadership that you've made that you'll never forget?
Yeah. Um, wow, there's so many. Um,
We
there's
got
definitely
time.
many. Yeah. I think one of the biggest mistakes um, that I did was really not properly engaging people. And okay, so there's two parts. The first part is not fully engaging people when you're going really fast and bringing them in and making them, in some sense, making them drink the Kool-Aid and really aggressively pushing out the Kool-Aid. The faster you grow, the faster you have to force the Kool-Aid down people, you know,
Sure.
because you grow so fast, your culture and everything dilutes. And the other thing was like I didn't define my my culture very well. I had some ideas, but they were not clear enough, and I had to revamp them. And so the mistakes was my values were not clear enough, and um, we weren't like fully engaging with our employees enough. So what did we do after we've kind of lost people and things kind of went awry, and we had to kind of rebuild a lot of that. So what did we do? So we used our product to create really interactive events for our team. So there was one thing
I
which we
love
called
that.
Grub Club, which is called Grub Club.
Okay.
And Remo, just to kind of set the stage for everybody, Remo is like it's like Zoom with breakout rooms, but on steroids. So it's like imagine a floor plan of a hotel lobby, for example. And there's a bunch of tables all over the place. And it's a top down view. You're looking at it from the top, like a bird's eye view, and each person is like a little circle. And when you go jump into a table with other people sitting there on that circle, their circles represent each person with their profile picture on it. You then only hear and listen to the people on that table. And then when you double click on a table, you jump on there. So you move by just double clicking in the table that you want to go to. So what we created something called Grub Club. And Grub Club is basically like everybody buys food. We give a budget about, back in the day it was $15-$20. So I know that probably doesn't go far anymore, but
Yeah.
$15-$20, you order whatever food, we pay for it. Like we buy everybody lunch. And then we then match people in different departments in each table. So
Okay.
it's
So
not the
y'all
same
kind of
people, it has to be different. Yeah, we assign it.
assign
Yeah.
them. Okay.
Yeah, we assign it. And we spend a lot of time assigning people you haven't met and all that stuff, different cultures and stuff like that. And then after that, we give them like a little sheet, a guideline of like what are the questions that you could ask each other. So at that time, there was like I think it was like the Olympics, and so then we would talk about the Olympics. Like I had a few questions about Olympics, like what sport did you play, that kind of stuff. And we also played some slightly competitive games where it's between like two people, like one
Okay.
team of two people, another team of two people, and they play competitive games with each other. So two teams, two people each, on average. Sometimes three versus three, and that dynamic created a lot of deeper conversation and a lot of competitive spirit because when you go through a competitive game with a team, that creates a shared experience.
Sure.
So basically what we're doing is it's like I don't know if you remember like hazing in some of these fraternities,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
they deliberately put a cohort of people through a lot of hardship and just crap and all that kind of stuff, and that creates the bonds. It's We're not doing as crazy as a frat, but we are replicating that experience in a much more mild way in order to build relationships and build stories. Okay. And so,
Yeah, it
and
really
so,
connects people.
and so it solves a lot of problems. Some people are like, oh, I don't want to attend a work event. I don't want to waste my time. I want to work or I want to do other things. This is my private time. I don't want to but if I say, hey, this meal is on me, all goes out.
Yeah,
Everybody wants a free lunch.
sure.
And also a lot of communication and bond building occurs at a meal, not necessarily at work
Yeah.
because everyone's working. So
Yeah, you're not talking about
there's
work, you're getting to know each other.
yeah, and people bring their food and there's a lot of conversation about food. Oh wow, that Indian curry. Oh my gosh, that's dumplings. Like there's a lot of culture and so there's a lot of things to talk about through that. So that's one. And then number two is I created this book of values, a scroll of values where I had people put in examples of each of the values that they exhibited. Like one was that empathy is greater than intelligence. And I
Mm,
made everyone write down or record a video, a Loom video of how they exhibited that value. And I put it in this document, which was a Notion doc. And, and when people scroll through it, they can see the stories and people like the videos. So then it's really visceral in terms of how to exhibit that value. It's just much more memorable.
yeah.
And also, we would have group conversations, and people would say they would share their stories of how they shared that value. They did that value each week, and I really pounded those values in each and every single week. We talked about it, and so then they would remember, and then that's how they remembered
Yeah.
it.
I love that. Well, I heard someone a while back talking about as a leader, the most successful businesses, they're not telling their employees 100 different things 10 times. They're telling them 5 or 10 things 100 times, 1,000 times, so that that really, really permeates. It's fascinating because not often do you hear a company, an organization that gets to utilize their own technology, their own tools to impact their own people, but then how much more passion. I mean, I can imagine how much you would just feel it in here and be so excited to
Yeah,
be a cheerleader to prospects or existing customers, knowing that you use this and how impactful it is on your team. That is, I really love that. That's fascinating what y'all have done. So can you tell me the shift into events? Like, is
yeah,
that going to be kind of the pure focus now? Is the events?
yeah. That's been the focus since the pandemic.
Okay.
So we shifted it before the pandemic, and it was a choice that we as a team made because we felt, well, actually, it was a very simple decision. Um,
Okay.
Events just have more traction. Like people were
Okay.
way more interested in using us as an events tool. I mean, you could imagine you could have a floor plan instead of a hotel lobby we were just talking about. It could be an
Yeah.
office, and you could have cubicles, and people could have their own, you know, offices and areas to hang out. It just didn't get the same amount of traction as events. Like people just loved
Okay.
events. They loved using it for events. They loved using it to connect, and the product is just inherently very social. Like the floor plan designs are intense. Like we've got spaceships, we've got yachts, we've got festivals, we've got um,
I love it.
space stations. Like it's just inherently more social, and
Yeah.
so that's where we decided that hey, we should just go with the flow.
Okay. I love that. Now, would you mind elaborating? You kind of told me a little bit about some recent moves with Remo and that. Would you mind kind of telling us a little bit more about what's taken place recently?
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for asking about that. Yeah, so we just recently got acquired by a company called events.com. They
Okay.
do in-person events mostly for and so we're a really great um, compliment to them because they need a virtual component for a lot of their in-person events. And a lot of in-person events are very consumer, and our product is very consumer focused. And so we're all about like networking and hosting events online. And so partnering with them, we're able to connect and build a really full suite. So it's in person, hybrid, and virtual events all together.
Okay.
And they have a very strong like ticketing system. They do sponsorships. They do they own this festival called Wonderfront, which is like a Coachella in San Diego. It's a Coachella, and it's like in San
Okay.
Diego. It's at the waterfront. It's beautiful.
Wow.
It's like in the partial like late summer, and you can see into the San Diego Bay, and there's like speedboats all over the place with water. I mean, it's just amazing. It's just beautiful. I mean, San Diego, man. I mean, come on. But
Yeah.
anyway,
How
so
do you go wrong
so
in San Diego? Yeah.
yeah, so anyway, so like they host that event, and that's a very in-person focused component, but they also want to build a lot of virtual components as well. So that's why we have kind of created this partnership.
No, that's fantastic. And that's a very new partnership. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It was just announced like a few weeks ago.
Wow. Well, congrats. Yeah. So that means, man, 2025 is going to be an exciting year for you guys. And that's, I love that. Look forward to
Yeah,
hearing
100%.
kind of more of what's to come from that. So
100%.
that being said, I mean, what do you think the biggest challenges that you guys face for 2025 between, both companies and where maybe you can even tell where is your focus going to lie moving forward?
I mean, my focus is mostly on, on definitely on the events side. I mean,
Yeah.
there's a lot of things going on there, and a lot of the vision is really ambitious on the event side. The events company is events.com is really they want to be like the Salesforce of events and selling like
Okay.
infrastructure. Like, what are the infrastructure pieces that is required to build an event? And you need like parking, you need insurance, you need ticketing system, you need an app, you know, and they're providing all of these things for you to create an amazing event. And so it's it's pretty. I mean, there's a few companies that can provide a good portion of that, but what they're providing is really like a really full cycle
Yeah.
platform where other people can then just add on stuff and really just trying to be the Salesforce, like the CRM, like the attendee CRM for events.
Wow. Okay. So when we talked originally, you got really excited and really passionate to share of how being a mostly, virtual company and from the beginning that you've still managed to create this beautiful culture. Can you tell me more about like how that's going and kind of how you're continuing to keep that and create that?
Yeah. So it's so I told you about the two kind of techniques that we did for.
Yep.
I think the values part is really important. Um, and the mission of Remo is create authentic conversations that build meaningful relationships for
Mm.
our attendees. And that statement also applies to the company culture itself.
Yeah.
And because we use our own product, what I really, really focus on, like I really obsessed with is how do you make really great conversations and experiences? And authentic conversation can only be done when it is a group of people in a room of less than six people. So in Remo, we don't call them breakout rooms; we just call them tables. And a table, if you have more than six people, it's not a conversation anymore. It's starting to become like a large group, and then even larger than that, it starts to become like a really small talk. Like you're talking in a group of people, not we're talking
Yeah.
with
Not
people.
not really engaging.
Yeah, and so we're very, very particular and very specific about the way how we connect, and we connect in groups of six or less, and we structure it that way. And we are very particular about like we'll give you a guideline of what you will talk about. So we'll have like a lot of we have like networking. We have a networking session, like for our town halls, for example. We have a networking session before and after, and then people and we're giving them kind of like games or instructions on what to do, right? So you're kind of coming into you're part of this agenda, right? Except it's not just a speaker talking to you, but you guys have stuff to do before and after. So we
Yeah.
take advantage of times when people come together, and so to make it more interactive. And so interactive is the key. And the more
Okay.
interactive there is, the more authentic conversation. And then we pick topics that people will be. They don't have to share like private, intimate stuff, but we slowly open it up to make people feel comfortable if they want to share. And if they don't want to share, that's fine. And it's not
Okay.
forceful. It's like, you know, sharing like, oh, what do you do at home? It could be very simple. Talk about your kids, talk about your pets, like, talk about things that are positive that people are willing to share, and that's authentic and that's creative. Now, the thing is that when you're in person, these conversations happen very naturally, but online, for some reason, they don't necessarily happen very naturally.
Yeah.
Not necessarily, and so we have to kind of give it a little bit of a nudge in order to create that environment to make it more natural for people to share. So we have a lot of very, very intentional way of how we like network with each other together. And then that's like one really major thing of how we kind of keep the culture together and keep people like really connected. Um, we also do I do like, skip level meetings too. Like I do skip level meetings where I won't talk to the manager, I'll talk to the people below and
Okay.
try to really just understand what's going on and not have the manager present. And sometimes
Okay.
that, in my experience, it really opens up the conversation a lot
Really?
and makes a more honest conversation between the people who are at the front line and me, who I want to really like understand and understand what they're thinking. You know what I mean? So
I'm gonna be
I found that
honest.
very helpful.
I haven't really heard of that much. I mean, is that something you came up with, or did you get that from someone else? Those skip level meetings, as you called it?
Yeah. Like I think there's a bunch of CEOs that do that. I think Jeff
Okay.
Bezos does it a little bit. There's some other folks that do that too.
Okay.
It's not a new concept for sure. It's
All
not
right.
that new, and I did not invent it.
Yeah.
But
No, I love that. Because yeah, I
yeah,
mean, I definitely feel like that removes a barrier and kind of can create some better talking and allow people to feel more comfortable that you know they're not going to get in
and
trouble.
it's most important because sometimes people will share things that they've always had a concern about, but sometimes that gets filtered by the manager.
Sure.
And so that's really important when there might be something seriously wrong in the org, but for one reason or another, it doesn't get filtered up. And
Sure.
that's a really powerful mechanism to root that stuff out, to root it out. And yeah, because sometimes organizations tend to suppress stuff. Nobody's fault. It's just
Yeah.
the way how organizations sort of evolve. Um, so yeah, so that's one. And yeah, I mean, I've got some others too. But like we also have something we call it's called like gifting, and what we do is that um, this is where the EA and chief of staff are very helpful here. The EAs and the chief of staffs are kind of like your eyes and ears, and they'll look around, and also you tell your managers. So we assign like a $40 gifting amount per person. Okay,
Okay.
so let's say it's 100 people. It's $40 times 100. It's like $4,000.
And that's
So it's
every
just
month?
for no per year
Okay.
per
Okay.
year. Okay,
Okay.
and so the rules of this gifting basket is um, you if someone has a death in the family, or they get burnt out, or they did something really really amazing. So it's either something really great or really bad, or they're really sick, like just something really personal, right? Typically, we don't use it for like work stuff. Typically, we don't. But it's like you just bought a house, you just got married, like really key human milestone events. And not everyone has a milestone event a year. So not everyone actually gets one. So
Sure.
the package can be more for some people, less for some people. And we write a letter. So like, for example, we'll send like a cheese board, cheese bowl with ham and all that kind of stuff. Really nice. You can get something really nice for like $30, including shipping. You ship it to them. You have a really private note. We write the note for the manager. We tell the manager that's going to be sent. We send it to them. And they're just like up the moon,
Yeah.
up the moon to get like a
Yeah.
care package in the mail that it's something that is really important to them because it's not necessarily work, but it's something
Yeah.
that's really important to them in their life, a death in the family or whatever. We then attach a package to that to say, hey, we're here for you, congratulations or whatever, we're here. And it's just $40 per person. And I can't tell you how many people have come to me and said this is one of the best things that they've
Mhm.
received in their whole entire life
I love that.
because it's so personal and it doesn't cost a lot of money. It's the best use of money. It buys loyalty for years. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I worked at a company that did something similar to that, and it's so funny because the thing that I got was a pair of running shoes because I was training for and had just completed. I did a 10K, but it was such a silly thing to many people probably, but I still have those shoes, and I
Nice.
worked at that company probably 10 years ago. So
Mm,
yeah, I love hearing that because yeah, I mean it's not that big in the grand scheme. It's not that big, but it's touching. It's that personal moment. So yeah, I love that.
yeah.
That's
Yeah, that's cool that
fantastic.
you've experienced that yourself and
Yeah,
and so and so we just focus on like the milestone events because those are highlights. And
yeah,
and when it comes to human experiences, humans just pretty much remember the highlights. They don't remember what's in between. They remember the beginning
sure.
and the end,
Yeah,
right? So you want to attach some of, yeah, you just want to be there basically. You want the
yeah,
company to have some imprint on the beginning or the end of that event.
yeah. That's major. That's fantastic. So can you tell me like where, I mean, where are you guys at in size right now, number of employees between the two companies?
So between the two companies, we're now at about 150 right now between the two companies.
Okay.
So
Okay.
Remo did do some scale down as like the pandemic kind of normalized. So,
Sure.
but we're now at about I think I would say maybe 150 something like that.
Okay. And fully remote.
Fully remote, yeah. Fully
Everyone's
remote.
fully remote. I love that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So what I want to do now is, if it's okay, kind of um, make a little bit of a shift, and I want to. This is something that we try to do with every guest, and for a long time, I tried to make sure and do different questions each time. But for me, as time went on, I thought, no, I these are the ones that I like, and these are the ones that I'm most curious about. So I'm gonna just ask it five quick questions, and you just let me know which one. And it could be neither. I've had plenty of people that have said neither. And I start with my first. You can tell I'm a golfer, but the first one is golfer or tennis. Are you a golfer or a tennis player, or maybe neither?
I'm a badminton player.
Badminton. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I That's awesome. I saw recently there's a badminton facility that's just a few miles from here, and I saw the
All right.
sign and I was like, that looks like, because what do they call it, a what's the thing?
Um, they call it a birdie or they call it a
Birdie.
shuttlecock. Yeah,
Shuttlecock, that's the word. Okay.
yeah,
And yeah, I saw
yeah.
the sign. I was like, that looks like, and I went online. I was like, oh my God, there's a whole, like, it was a huge facility all dedicated to badminton. So that was fascinating.
So what do you
Um,
think of Top?
oh, I love Topgolf. Matter of fact, when the Topgolf first opened in Austin, heck, it's probably been 15 years ago. I was very lucky that I could, when I pulled out of my neighborhood, I could see the net. So I was so close to the Topgolf here in Austin when it first opened. And not to brag, but I had a membership, and there was a hot minute there where I was at Topgolf probably 4 days a week. I'd go and spend a couple of hours. we'd bring our don't get me wrong, we'd bring our laptops and we'd make a long work lunch out of it. But I definitely spent
Nice.
a
Oh,
lot
that's
of
so
hours at
cool.
Top Golf for sure. Yeah, yeah, it was
So,
a lot of fun.
so what do you think of the TDL, that indoor golf
Oh,
thing?
I mean, I love golf. I'm all for growing the game. I keep trying to watch it, and I'm like, one, I don't understand it, which is probably my fault. I should probably read some of it, but um, I feel like I like it, but at the same time, I'm like, you know, but yeah, it's definitely fun. I like that people all around the world are they are trying diligently to continue to grow the game and get new people involved. And I don't know if you're aware, but like during COVID, it's kind of crazy because I feel like the golf industry and golf courses in general, as far as like activities, disposable income types of things, I feel like golf was probably the biggest recipient of the growth of during COVID, because even like here in Austin, it was one of the very few things that when they shut everything down, golf courses were still allowed to be open. They were told like, okay, um, you can't have two people riding in a cart unless they're from the same household. And they did silly things like they would tell people, one of the courses I played at, they took a pool noodle and they would cut sections and put a pool noodle in the bottom of the cup so that the ball wouldn't go completely down and just be kind of go down just a little bit into the hole, so that you didn't have to pull out the flagstick. We don't want to get germs on the flagstick. So they were doing things like that because they said, golf is it's
That's funny.
a health and fitness activity. But many of the golf courses that I knew, because I was a golf professional for many years,
Oh,
was,
really? Oh,
yeah, I
wow.
still do teach golf,
That's
and
crazy. Oh, wow.
help business leaders utilize golf for business. And most of the people that I knew, they said that during the COVID boom, that more new people picked up the game of golf during that 2 or 3 year stretch than had in the history of golf. Golf courses
Wow.
were doing 3 times the number
Wow.
of rounds and revenue,
That's crazy.
like absolute crazy boom. Yeah. So it was a wild time. But it's
Hmm.
definitely changed everything because, like, of course, we've seen lots of things affected by inflation, but golf is definitely one of those big time for
I
sure.
see. I see.
Yeah.
I see.
All right, Hoyen. The next question: tea or coffee?
Okay.
Tea. All right. Now, do you have a certain tea? Do you do afternoon tea? Is it a daily thing for you?
Um, Not really. Um,
Okay.
I'm in Taiwan. I mean, tea's a pretty big thing in Taiwan. Like you've
Okay.
got the boba tea, you've got
Yeah. Yeah.
there's like so much. There's just so much tea here. Um,
Yeah.
but I like oolong tea that they have here in Taiwan. It's a bit on the bitter side, but it's like really
Okay.
good.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I love it. Yeah, I used to work sales at a company, and there was a colleague of mine, Andrew, and every day, right about 2 o'clock, he'd walk by my desk on the way to the kitchen, and I can still hear his voice. He'd walk by, Daniel, fancy a spot of tea? And every now and then I'd take him up on it. But yeah, it was a very it was a good daily ritual. So I love that. I'm definitely a coffee guy, but for some reason I'm worried that I don't like the feeling of being dependent on something. So I
Mm,
generally limit myself to 2 or 3 cups a week just to be on the safe side, and that's probably silly, but one of the things I can control, I guess.
that makes sense.
So, next one, mountains or beaches?
Mountains.
Mountains.
I like
Okay.
hiking. I like hiking.
Yeah.
I like hiking up in the mountains. I like the
And how
views.
close are you to get to go hiking in mountains there?
So in Taiwan, we live like right on the edge of the city. So it's like You just drive like 2 blocks and it's already mountain. It's already a mountain.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's awesome.
we're at the last station, like of the subway line. We're like at the
Yeah,
very, very end.
really.
Yeah.
So you are
Yeah.
close. And that's where you live or live and work or
That's where I live, yeah. And
okay.
then work is like a 30-minute ride, subway ride into the city. So
Okay.
it's like, I mean, it's not a suburb.
Yeah.
It's the edge of the city, you know.
Okay.
I would consider it still the edge of the city. Still
Okay.
urban. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, that's fascinating. Yeah, I mean I'm here in Austin, Texas, and we call it the hill country because they are definitely just hills.
Hmm.
We don't have mountains, and the closest beach I can drive 3 hours and get to a beach,
Oh wow.
but
That's far.
yeah, but it'll suffice every now and then. We took the kids to the beach last summer, and you still make
Oh,
a
that's
thing of it.
nice. That's nice.
So next one, whiskey or beer, or
Ooh.
sometimes I'll say whiskey or wine, or maybe
Ooh.
none.
Gin.
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 Okay. And are we talking
Yeah.
just straight gin? You sip on it, or like
Oh
a
no,
mixed
no, no,
drink?
no, no. With tonic. Yeah, gin and
Okay,
tonic.
okay,
Yeah, gin
okay,
with tonics. Yeah.
okay. All right. I love
Yeah.
that. I'm a sober Sally these days, but I definitely do enjoy and have enjoyed from time to time a whiskey, and I like a nice whiskey and just a slow sip on it because I'm kind of a cheap date, so I can just have one whiskey and slow sip on that booger for a long time. So the last question and my my favorite one to end on is: Are you more of a morning person or a night owl?
Night owl, for
Night owl.
sure. I
Okay,
hate
I love
mornings.
that. Yeah,
That's why, like, as a parent, this is like really bad for me.
yeah,
I have 2 kids, 2 and 4, and they're all like waking up so early,
yeah,
you know. So I hate it.
yeah. And kids are so funny because there was a comedian that made a joke about it. I could put my kids to bed at 5:45 a.m. and they'd still at 6 a.m. They wake up, "Good morning, Daddy." And absolutely, yeah, it doesn't matter what time you put them to bed, they're still waking up early.
It doesn't make any sense. I
Yeah,
don't
it
get it
does not
either.
make sense, does it?
Why do they wake up so early?
Oh, yeah, it is a mess. My kids are 12 and 14, and my favorite thing is on the weekends when we have no sports that nowadays I basically have to wake them up. Like, all right, y'all, let's not sleep the whole day away. Um, so yeah, there will definitely come a day when they'll let you sleep in, and hopefully it won't be too far in the future, right? Well, Hoyen, before we go, any final things that you may want to share, whether it's some nuggets or something on the forefront that you guys have coming up?
Um, so I mean, I think on the event side, I think it's going to be a pretty crazy year for events. Um, hopefully the economy will still be okay based on what's going on. I think it's pretty hard to
Yeah,
predict. But I still think there's going to be a lot of good stuff for events um, and yeah, I mean, you know, still come to the Remo website and check it out and check out what we're doing. And we're still improving the product. We've added a lot of new features, and we're always improving.
I love it. Well, like I mentioned earlier, I definitely would love to see, a demo. There's a part of me that wants to like sit in and get to watch, an event as it unfolds or something like that. But it's definitely fascinating technology to get to hear the way you describe it and the way that it's really is. I
Yeah,
mean, changing the way that people do meetings. So I love it.
yeah, yeah. Great
Well,
for sure.
Hoyen, it's been a pleasure. Really have appreciated having you on, and thanks for the insights. And we will sign off for now. This is the Work Culture Podcast. Thank you so much.
Thank you.